Now, also in another startling revelation, the Divan newspaper reported that the ambassador to Turkey had warned Sri Lankan authorities that 50 members of a terrorist organization in Turkey had entered the island.
The Police Terrorist Investigations Division is conducting investigations on 16 suspects arrested in connection to the strings of bombings on Easter Sunday. A majority of them had received training in Turkey. An imam named Imat Farik, who encouraged the suicide bomber Mohammed Zahran, who was also arrested with a person who had travelled to Syria and associated with IS militants.
Actually, they should question the ambassador of Turkey and not me, because he is the same ambassador who was there even back then. He claims that the list was presented back in 2015. In the list that was presented, he warns that there are 50 Islamic terrorists from Turkey and 10 other organizations. As a government minister, I received this information and it was presented to the Defense Ministry. However, the same answer was always given. We will take the final discussion regarding this. We will put this forward to the Security Council and take necessary actions. Now the ambassador is saying that he was informed that they cannot proceed because there are interventions from 2 Muslim parliamentarians. The former secretary to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that we should not repeat this, as this is a powerful country from the West and this will create a rift. The secretary said that there is an intervention from the country to refrain this group from being banned. That is what was said according to the ambassador, and there was a number of people in the madrasa schools. He said that the minds of these children are changed through this.
Now, of course, this revelation about more details that were received by Sri Lankan authorities regarding terrorists within the country brings to question as to how much of negligence was involved in the lead-up to this incident. Of course, according to UNP Vasanta Sena Naik, no proper action had been taken in this regard. We are now joined by Chaturanga Hapoarachi, who is standing by in our news studios for a detailed report on this. Chaturanga, how grave are the results of this negligence that has plagued the authorities on all fronts in this case?
Yes, Sharon, as you mentioned before we headed into this particular story, this particular news report, there are startling revelations indeed. Minister at that time, Vasanta Senanayake, now UNP parliamentarian, is claiming that the Turkey ambassador had provided information about 50 Turkish terrorists who are in the country. Now, there are questions up to date, Shalan, about this current situation, whether the Easter Sunday attacks were known by the authorities and whether they did not take proper action at the right time. That is the question at hand even right now. So, when information comes out with regard to another terrorist group, members of that particular terrorist group coming to the country, and when that information has been provided to the government through official channels, was action taken? That is the question that we have at hand. Now, what is this FETA or FETO or FETO organization that we are talking about? This is an organization in Turkey. They had been working with the government before the year 2016 when a military coup happened in Turkey. This particular organization has been deemed as a terrorist organization after the year 2016. They are identified as the Fethullahist terrorist organization, therefore FETO, FETO as they short name it. Now, with all of these things happening, what is going to be a problem is the information that was revealed to us by UNP parliamentarian Vasanta Senanayake. He mentioned in his voice cut that he gave to the media a short while ago that the ambassador had questioned on the progress of the information that he had provided to the government of Sri Lanka, and then he was informed that the progress of the investigation is being hampered because of the intervention of 2 Muslim politicians in the country. Now, this itself becomes the next problem. Who are these politicians who are hindering investigations into possible terrorist links, possible connection to international terrorist organizations? Now, isn't this in any way a possible investigation in itself? Shouldn't these things also be investigated as to who is behind or who these politicians are who have been hampering investigations of this Nethershalen. That seems to be the question at hand, and we will continue to follow on this developing story as well with regard to the information that has been provided by the Turkish government through official channels to the Sri Lankan government, and the action, or in this case no action, has been taken. We will find out why in the coming days.